Section 11.3 is about data distributions. It's about using the mean, using your calculator to find the mean and the standard deviation, and then using that information to evaluate your data. So the measures of center include mean, median, and mode. We're going to really focus on mean today. Mean is when you add up all your numbers and you divide by how many there are. The spread is how spread out your numbers are. There are a couple of different measures of spread. One is the range. Range would be if you take your biggest number minus your smallest number. And the other would be the standard deviation. So we're going to learn about standard deviation today. So in order to use your calculator to find the mean, we're going to first enter the numbers into our calculator using the stat button. After you push the stat button, you're going to arrow over. You're actually going to just hit enter until you get to the edit button. You will enter these data values into L1. I thought I had a calculator up. I don't apparently. But you'll just enter each of those numbers into L1. Once you have your data entered into L1, let's just say you have some data in L2 that you don't want. If you ever want to delete data, you will go up to the very heading so that L2 is highlighted, and then you hit clear and enter, and that will clear out your list. But right now my L1 list has my numbers in it, and it's ready to go. So then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the stat button, and then I'm going to hit arrow over until I get to calc, and then I'm going to choose 1var stats. So it looks like this. I hit stat, I arrow over until I get to calc, and then I choose 1var stats. I'm just going to hit enter until calculate is highlighted, and then I'm going to hit enter again, and then I get my 1var stats. In my 1var stats, the very first item, the X with a bar on top of it, is the mean. So the way the calculator got the mean was it added up all of my data and divided by how many data points there were. But the calculator did it for me. So that's the mean. It is a measure of center. It's the average value of my data set. And then the other number that you're going to care about on this 1var stats is going to be the standard deviation. Standard deviation has this symbol next to it. That's a Greek letter. It's a lowercase letter s in Greek. And the standard deviation tells you how far apart the numbers are from the mean. What it means is that on average your numbers are about 6 away from the mean. So they're not very close together. The standard deviation, if it's low, tells you that your numbers are close together, and if the standard deviation is high, it tells you that they're far apart. You're also going to, if you scroll down on your calculator, you get a 5-number summary. So if I keep scrolling down, I'm going to get a 5-number summary. The 5-number summary is the median, which looks like it's 12.5. And it's the Q1, which is 6, and Q3, which is 15.5. What the 5-number summary tells you is that a quarter of your data, 25% of your data, is going to be between 3 and 6. A quarter of your data is going to be between 6 and 12.5. And a quarter of your data is going to be between 12.5 and 15.5, and another quarter is going to be between 15.5 and 25. What you can do with that is you can turn it into a box and whisker plot. So the way you make a box and whisker plot is first you make a standard number line that goes from your minimum X value to your maximum X value. So make sure that those numbers appear on your number line. Then you're going to plot a point at your minimum value and a point at your maximum value. Those are going to be your whiskers for the box and whisker plot. Your median is 12.5, so that's going to be the very middle of your box. So you're going to draw a vertical line at 12.5. Q1 is 6. We're going to put a vertical line at 6. And Q3 is 15 and a half. So we're going to put a vertical line at 15 and a half. The box and whisker plot really tells us the spread of our data, but more than just the spread of, sorry, my whiskers are too low, but it's going to be like this. That whisker. So it tells me how spread out my data are, but throughout the whole range of the data. So 25% of my values fall on this little whisker. That little whisker is full of values that are pretty close together. And then another 25% of my data falls in this portion of the box. So that portion of the box is a little bit more spread out than the whisker is that we looked at. And the upper quartile here is going to be, the third quartile is a little bit more dense again. It's closer together. And then this last whisker, the data values are more spread out because it's still a quarter of the values, but they go all the way from 15 and a half to 25. So that's what the box and whisker plot tells us. Even though some sections look longer and other sections look shorter, they all represent a quarter of your data. There's a little bit of math you can do with your 5-number summary. If you subtract Q3 minus Q1, that tells you your interquartile range. The interquartile range is also the width of the box. It's between what two number, how far apart is the middle 50% of your data. It's a measure of spread, and it goes with the median, which would be the measure of center. So it tells you how far spread out from that median your middle 50% of your data are. All right, so I have a box and whisker plot for you to try, and I'm going to leave that and not do a video of that, but you can try that one. Please ask in class if you have questions on that one. And then the last thing we're going to do today is look at what a data distribution looks like. When your data are symmetric, that means that your mean, median, and mode are all going to be exactly the same thing. All your measures of center are going to be exactly in the middle of your data, and your data is going to be nice and symmetric around those values. Perfectly symmetric data, it would be exactly like that. Data is called skewed left if the tail is on the left. So I always look at this and my first thought is, oh, that's skewed right because the data looks like it's pushed over to the right, but you look for where the tail is. The long tail tells you the skew. So this data are skewed left, and that means that the mean is going to be lower than the median. So when you have this, the mean is no longer a really good measure of your center. The best measure of your center and your spread is going to be your median in this kind of situation. When you have symmetric data, then the mean is a really good measure of center. When your data are skewed, you'd rather use the median because the tail is pulling the mean. When your data are skewed right, your tail is on the right and your tail pulls the mean up. So the tail will pull the mean up from the median. You should be using median and IQR, interquartile range, as your measure of spread when you have skewed data. All right, that's a little summary of the first section of notes for this semester, section 11.3. Thank you so much. Bye.